G'day guys, welcome back to another episode. So it's been a little while since I've actually done any filming or anything for the YouTube channel. Kind of taking a little bit of a break from inside the garage, but just kind of doing the bare minimum at the moment. But yeah, I thought that, I don't think I'm going to get this rough scale enclosure banged out in time for me wanting to do a bit of a reptile room tour video per se. So I thought, bugger it, let's just do it. I'll show you as it is. I'm not going to clean anything up too nice or anything. I'm not going to make it look pretty for you. I'm just going to show you the raw basics of what this reptile room looks like, unpolished. But before that, I'm going for a bit of a bushwalk. You should check out my view right now. So I'm very lucky that this is all of a 5-minute drive away from my house at the moment. Beautiful, beautiful bushland. You can see some escarpments over in there, running across the ridge. I really enjoy getting out and just stretching the legs. And seeing nature in its prime. So these guys are all doing pretty good out here. We got the blotch blueies in these enclosures. Yeah, one of them scratching around. Where are we? Oh, one of you trying to escape. So these guys have been doing pretty good in here. Been hunkered down pretty much in this hay for the better part of a couple of months now, kind of just coming out when they need to. They do have a little access hole, they just need to be able to dig their way out down through there. And I'll help them out today. Let them get some afternoon sun. Yeah, grumpy buggers. So these guys have been doing pretty good. They've been pretty hunkered down for winter now. You can see that they're lean little machines at the moment. Not much to them, but they'll soon bulk up again. Try to take my finger. Even when they're icy cold, these guys tend to be pretty grumpy.
I really don't play around with them much, so can't blame them.
Yeah, they're all out here, all doing all right. The big girl, she's been loving coming out and getting sun still, so none of them are really eating. I have offered food a few times. They're not interested. So there's another couple buried down in here. Oh. There's the male. So that's the father of the animals that Coop got off me. And Mum is buried down in here too. Oh, Mum. She's a gorgeous lizard, this one. Oh, I'll get you out in some sun. That's the mother to the animals that Coop got off me. So I'm hoping this season they go, because they both didn't go last year, so haven't had baby blotchies in a season. So I've got the trio in here, and I've got another pair over there. One of the girls quite young. One of the males I actually got back off a friend not too long ago, mate Kyle. But yeah, pretty much just during winter in particular, I kind of, really pack this full of hay. Use styrofoam. You can see some woodies that got crushed in there at some point, just to kind of insulate them. And over the top of that, I've always got a tarp over the back end of the enclosures, just as more rain protection. Usually I've got the front exposed, like so. But just recently, I've actually just kind of jacked the enclosures up off the ground a little bit, just so then it doesn't get any like dampness through the bottom there. They were on pavers and they were probably about 5 centimeters off the ground, but I was still finding that they were staying quite damp. So at least this might just kind of stop that morning dew in the morning and, let them dry out a little bit more during winter at least. I'm not too worried about them in summer, but during winter the last thing I want them to do is get wet and cold. So as you can see, the turtle pond's pretty overgrown at the moment. Some of the plants have gone pretty nuts in here and there's a few weeds kicking about. You can actually see the Cunninghams must have come out for a little bit of sun earlier. He's just ducking away down his hide there. Yeah, this pond's pretty cold at the moment. Even just to the touch it's quite cool, but I've actually I've got my thermometer gun here just to check out how the surface temperature is. So there you go. Bloody cold is the answer. I am going to actually pull these turtles out and just give them a quick once over, but I'm not really looking forward to putting my hands in that icy cold water. So I just found both the long necks. These guys are tough as nails, these animals. You can see they're both hiding away in their shells there. These guys are looking really good. They're still kicking about. I have to see if I can find the short necks anywhere. Couldn't actually see them, so they might actually be out of the water, hidden away somewhere, so I'll see what's going on with them. But yeah, there's the two little longies. So both the sawshells were in the water. You can see the one in this hand actually, he's got a little bit of a funny thing going on in his nose, so I reckon he might have copped a bit of a beating recently, or maybe some fish are picking on him or something. His nose just looks a little bit swollen, so I might keep an eye on that. This guy's looking good as well. See that a little bit closer on there? This guy. Doesn't look horrible. Just looks like he might have grazed it or something and it might have just begun a little tiny infection on there, so we'll keep an eye on that anyway. But yeah, they're both tough as nails, these guys. They've been out here since they were very young, so they're very used to the climate in this this pond. But anyway, there you go. There's the turtles, still kicking, still doing all right. We'll go and put them back in the water, hey? So here's the Exoteric in all its glory. We had a pretty good look at this not too long ago, so I'm not going to go too far in depth with this one, just because I think people are keen to kind of see how some of the other animals are doing here. These guys are all doing pretty well. There's little Wasabi. Oh, you can just see his nose peeking out. It's his favourite spot, straight underneath his little hot spot there. But the plants in here are really starting to crank along. It's starting to look pretty lush. He still tramples a few of them every now and then, so and he keeps turning the Miss King nozzle around, but that's alright. Don't mind fixing that up for him. So in this tank we've got the Perron's tree frogs. These guys are putting on size like no tomorrow. There's one. They had a great feed for me this morning. Just going to close this door so this guy on the nozzle doesn't jump out on me. Such beautiful little frogs. Very underrated species in my opinion. You can see they've already made a mess of the glass between that and the mister on there. Alright, start checking out. Oh, mind the glare. Sorry about that, guys. It is the afternoon here. Where are you? Oh, there you are. So some of these geckos are pretty hard to see at the moment, so I will try to get a couple of them out to at least show you. I might not disturb all of them just because it is the middle of winter and they're not really the kind of pet that you want to handle too much. You know, camouflage so well with all those different kind of textures and stuff on his body. Looks exactly like lichen. Such beautiful little animals. I always find the eyes so fascinating on this guy in particular, or guy or girl. Pretty sure it's a girl. Those yellows that just shine through are just phenomenal. So this little dude's just become a lot more active since having him out for a little bit. He's just warmed up a little bit. It's pretty cold here at the moment. Like I think today's top is about 15 degrees ambient temperature. They're such beautiful little geckos. I'll let him go back in his enclosure. Her enclosure, I should say. There we go. Yeah, there's not much energy here today. So the little Moritz leaf-tail gecko is in this enclosure somewhere. No idea where. This is how their camouflage works. Like I was just saying, I have absolutely no idea where he is. And I was starting to feel around on the logs and I was going, oh crap, you know what? He's probably escaped the enclosure somehow. He was right in front of my face. They just blend so well. That's why I find these guys so fascinating, is they're just so good at just, you know, they're the Australian version of a chameleon, essentially. They can really adapt to their environment and they change their colours just as they want to. Like he's on a brown background, he's all brown in the body now. I've seen him out on these logs and he looks like a bit of lichen. I've seen him, you know, grey when he's on the grey logs and things there. They're just so fascinating. And beautiful little animals. Alright, so I've already spotted the male white berber that lives in this enclosure. You should be able to actually see him from here. I'll let you guys just take a second to see if you can actually find him yourself. And now I'll show you. There he is, blending in with the rock background. As you'll remember, at some point I was telling you his tail was getting a little bit skinny, so that's why I pulled him out and put him in this enclosure by himself. Well, I'm happy to report that he's fattening up quite nicely. So hopefully when it warms back up, I'll put him back in with the menagerie of girls that he's got downstairs, or the harem of girls. It can be a little bit hard filming these animals with the lights on. Oh. Just like that, he's gone again. But believe it or not, in this enclosure I do have 5 of these northern sedge frogs, Latoria bicolor. But they all absolutely love hiding out in amongst all the dense vegetation and in the bromeliads and everything, so it's almost impossible to find them. Usually if I want to try to get a head count to make sure they're all still there, I've actually got to come in at night just so they're all active to see them. So unfortunately, won't be able to show you too much of those guys today. Doesn't take long for glass to get dirty here. Hiding out somewhere in this enclosure is my four green stream frogs. Now there we go, there's a couple. They're looking so plump, honestly. They're all fat and big and healthy in here. I'm really backing off the food with these guys. So hopefully come spring and summer they decide that they want to spawn in here, which would be really cool. I'd really love to try to breed frogs, in particular these guys too, just because they're a little bit less common in the hobby. We'll move on from them into the red-eye tree frogs. So these guys had an awesome little feed for me this morning. I'll tuck it out. Sleeping away the day now, and they'll be jumping around later on. Not sure where the third one is. I did see him this morning. Or it this morning. They do blend into their environment so well. But yeah, these guys are doing really well. Starting to grow really good. Not as quick as the Perrons, that's for sure. These guys tend to be growing a lot slower. But yeah, beautiful little critters nonetheless. So now we're across into the female white berber cage. Can feel one just down here. Be a little bit hard to film in here too, just because of how dense all the tree trunks and everything are. Trying to encourage the animal to come around. Here we go. Come on, darling. Come on. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Yeah. Another stunning species of leaf-tailed gecko that... It's surprising how many of these guys are in Australia, you know, like how many different species, and they seem to go a little bit underappreciated.
Try to sneak in a shot of another one or two.
So yeah, there's all the animals from the Exoteric rack there. Unfortunately, most of them are pretty damn sleepy, so not much to see. In particular because they are all nocturnal species as well, it doesn't really help anything. But the enclosures are doing really well. Plants are starting to really grow in again. Might need to do another haircut soon. I want to start adding a few different plants in there as well, potentially, just if there's enough space in a few of the enclosures, maybe more so the Perron's tree frogs and some of the bigger enclosures down the bottom, just to see if we could have a play around with it. So let's start having a look at a few of the other critters that we've got going on here. I'm going to kick it off with a bang. I'm going to check out Big Loki.
Yeah, mate.
So I've just snuck his enclosure open. He's a little bit food responsive at the moment because he hasn't been fed recently. I'm trying to let him slender down a little bit. He was definitely starting to plump up over summer quite nicely, so I thought for now anyway, we'll give him a little bit of a diet and maybe just feed him once a week or thereabouts. You're alright, mate. These guys are such twitchy lizards. They're really, yeah, like he's pretty good. He's very, 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 very curious. But he's a twitchy lizard and I can't say that I would trust him, unfortunately. But such a beautiful animal. Like I just moved my arm then very slightly. Yeah, and he twitches. He's a gorgeous animal, but he is a dirty animal, that is for sure. No matter what I do, I can't keep his enclosure clean enough. It doesn't take much for him to mess it up. What I mean by that is he does poos two places. He either does them up there, where I essentially need to gurney them off with a pressure spray bottle, or you know, and then do a bit of F10 over the top of it, or he poos in his water. You can actually see that he's due for a water change. This was only changed a few days ago. And that was when I'm doing it now as well. I'm doing 100% water changes and using a big hose to siphon it out onto the lawn and get all these, you know, nuggets and everything out of there. But I cannot keep anything in there. I can no longer have gravel or fish or anything in there really. Just because, yeah, just because of the mess that this boy makes. And a big disgusting lizard. Wouldn't change it for the world though. He's beautiful. You're alright, mate. It's okay. Pretty sure he was hoping to be fed, so I've only just kind of cracked the door open just to kind of get a little bit better footage of him up close. He's probably trying to see if he could eat the camera. Eat the phone. Yep, definitely trying to see if he can eat it. Sorry, mate. That's a funny lizard. But yeah, unfortunately can't trust him. Curiosity would get the better of him and I reckon he'd try to eat my fingers in a heartbeat. But he's a beautiful animal nonetheless. I definitely enjoy having him here. And whenever I'm down here too, and whenever I'm moving around, he'll coming around and checking me out wherever I go and really see what's going on. Alright, so that's enough of Lokes. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Well, I might be a bit biased saying that. So let's see Atlas, who lives on Exoteric. So Atlas is doing really well. He's loving his enclosure. He's still been quite active rather, and he's still eating here and there. Unfortunately, he still is a pain of an olive python and will only eat birds. which can make it a little bit hard. But I don't mind. I'm just not in any rush to grow him super quick, so he's just on a bit of a slow grow path. He's a beautiful little snake. His enclosure is doing really well. Not much has changed here. What you probably would notice the most is, I'm not sure if you have noticed in past videos, but I have taken the UVB batten out of here. A couple of reasons for it. Number one, I didn't have a secure cage around it, so there was nothing really stopping from Atlas getting up and wrapping himself around it and not hurting himself, but it was just causing me some undue stress, and I just was trying to avoid what could have been potentially a burn or a smashed globe and him cutting himself or God knows what, so took it out. Another reason I took it out is his cage was actually overheating with it in here, because it was 39 watts worth of power, as well as, you know, even if I just had a smaller heat globe inside his dome here, it'd still be too much. So yeah, he's no longer got his UVB in there. I might try to put like an LED strip or something in there, or, you know, just something. I wouldn't mind brightening it up a little bit, because it is such a beautiful enclosure with the little kind of fake rock, well, not fake rocks, but the little rock escarpment that I've kind of made through here, and he loves this. He gets right underneath all these parts inside of here and hides out, and or if he wants to get nice and cold, he goes and wedges himself down that end. Yeah, he's doing really good. Recently added in a gum branch for him, something else that you can kind of crawl around, and you know, that'll break down and just turn into more leaf litter for the floor of the place anyway, so he's doing very well, really well. So above Atlas, we've got my big jungle python. This is Car. She was actually my first carpet python. And I love that I'm able to give her this larger enclosure now to explore around in. It's pretty simple, nothing too exciting. She's got a big water bowl, a couple of logs. That log there is kind of fastened over into the side of the enclosure up the back, so she can climb around on that and get a little bit of exercise. You know, I used to keep quite a few carpet pythons, but I'm glad just having a lot less of them now. I can give them a little bit more space, let them climb around on things, and give them the exercise they deserve. She's a stunning snake. She's quite friendly too. She's she's still eating during the cooler months, but not much. Just been offering a meal here or there. It's mainly offering her, you know, a rat if Atlas has refused it. I just don't want anything to go to waste. And of course he refuses rats like no tomorrow, so may as well give her a feed. Yeah, she's probably about, she's getting close to 1.9 meters now. I have had a tape on her a couple of years back and she was about 1.8. So yeah, it's nice for her to have a larger enclosure to hang out in. Alright, so we've had a look at Loki, we've had a look at Atlas, we've had a look at Car up there. We'll go across to the next enclosure. So in this little one here is my young Gillen's monitors. They were just out exploring around, so I don't know where they've ended up. I see a tail to one there. But yeah, I just leave them alone and let them do their thing in here. They feel nice and secure, and all the branches and everything that are in here. They're beautiful little animals. You see one of them poking his head out there. I'll try to take one out and get you some other shots of him as well. Yeah, they're doing fantastic in this enclosure. They've got a few extra branches and leaves and things in here now. This provides them with a bit more cover, a bit more enrichment, a bit more stuff to explore around in. Keep these guys hot. Let's have a look at what their basking temp is today. There you go. This is how I'm keeping my young Gillen's monitors nice and warm. And they're still eating a little bit, but I have to say, like, the ambient temperature in the enclosures have dropped down. Like, even if I just do that down there, that's quite low to what a normal ambient temperature is in my Gillen's enclosures. Usually it's more up around kind of like 32 to 35. But it just goes to show that don't be scared to cook them too much. You know, usually they kind of only sit out that first basking spot there first thing in the morning. They're not going to sit there all day and cook themselves too much. Alright, so I'll scoot across into this little rack here. I've actually just set up a little Biotope Amazon aquarium not too long ago. I've got a couple of pistogrammas, some rummy nose tetras and an angelfish in there at the moment. You see a little male lepisto there. Some agazizi, yeah. But yeah, anyway, underneath him, I used to have my male water python down underneath here, but at the moment I've actually got my brown tree snake. So he was in the enclosure, and he wasn't doing too well. So unfortunately not all animals do well in captivity. And this little fella, wherever he is, I'm gonna get bitten by him. He's having a pretty rough shed. You can see there he looks like a bit crinkly, a bit dehydrated. So for a period of time I was trying to get him to go onto fuzzy mice. He wasn't having a bar of it. So at the moment I've been trying to feed him. He's probably eating about 6 odd pinky mice a week. But in saying that, he's just not putting on any size at the moment. So I'm trying to get him to the stage where I can get a little bit more size on him and hopefully push that shed off him and just, you know, really hydrate him up. But, you know, I've tried all the tricks in the book, all the old, you know, give him a warm bath or whatever to loosen the skin off. Doesn't want a bar of it, he just freaks out and flails around like no tomorrow. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there, but I'm trying to find some bigger pinky mice to get him a little bit fatter. So hopefully that'll just keep hydrating him and get him there anyway. So I'll keep you updated with what happens with him. So down in this enclosure, the tub underneath, I've actually got my female water python. Don't know where to go without getting smashed here. She's grown like a little weed. But yeah, I've backed these guys off the food for winter as well. I have no need for these guys to be 8 foot by the time they're 2 years old, so when they do eat, they're eating things like fuzzy rats and adult mice. They're beautiful little snakes. I just love the iridescent sheen off the water pythons. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, we'll leave her alone anyway. I don't want to disturb these guys too much this time of year. So underneath that water python is my male Ruffy. These guys are doing super well. Such gorgeous animals. It still freaks me out every time I touch one of these snakes. I've never felt anything like it. They, you know, they don't look rough, but they just feel like holding a little bit of sandpaper noodle or something. This guy tends to be a little bit snappy. The female's not so bad, but still haven't been bitten by him. But I'm trying not to be bitten by him either, so it'll happen one day. So here's my little female Ruffy. I love these snakes. I'm so lucky to have them in the collection now. They actually seem to, you know, everyone goes, oh, you know, they're so cheap in Australia, they're everywhere. Yes, they are cheap compared to overseas. They're not necessarily everywhere at the moment. I found it a little bit difficult to get mine. And I've had people asking me, you know, if they can keep eyes out and stuff for them to try to find their roughies that they're after. Like, they're not as common as people give them credit for, you know, like they're not like a coastal carpet or something like that you can kind of go onto any classified site and find at any given time. Same thing as the water pythons, you know, they just don't come up all the time. But yeah, Beautiful little snakes. She's quite good at handling too. She's not so fighty. So yeah, that's the snakes in that rack there. We'll move on to the next rack and start on the other side of the wall. So I've got 4 snakes in the rack that's underneath the Boyd's Forest Dragons. If they cooperate, I'll pull them out for you. So this is Severus, my stimmy. It's probably a New South Wales locality. But this was my first snake, so I have no real intention of breeding him. Maybe one day I'll get him a partner, but for now I've done my dash with stimmies for a little bit, so I don't mind holding on to just him as a pet. He's such a light coloured stimmy as well. It's quite nice. Yeah, he's doing well. He's been off his feed for ages now, so he's just been cruising along. And I'll let him go back to sleep because he was having a bit of a nap, so I feel a little bit bad waking him up. Just make sure his hide box is right at the back there too, so he can stay nice and warm. Underneath him, I've got my bitiest snake. And when I get him out, I'm going to try not to get bitten, but chances are I probably will. So my water pythons are definitely nothing like like the ones that I mucked around with in the wild. And the ones in the wild were hot too, but there was just a bit of a dry spell, so they probably just didn't have the energy to bounce around like this guy does. This is going to be interesting when this guy is, 7-8 foot, but he is my male water python, and he is psychotic. Absolutely beautiful snake. I absolutely love the Liasis group, but yeah, he is mental, like proper mental. He must have small snake syndrome, because as you can see, he's not big, but he is one cranky animal. You'd think he was a textie or something, the way that he carries on. Yeah, beautiful animal. Very, very, very bitey. Any chance he gets, he'll try to take a stab, so, I do my best to try not to lose blood with my animals. I don't think you get a hero badge or anything if you do, so. He's just quick, like he's so quick. Even by python standards, he's just, yeah, he's always just got so much energy and just ready to smack you. He's huffing away now and causing getting a little bit grumpy. Try to get his hide back in. Ooh. Now he's into everything too. Yep, water pythons. Get water pythons, they said. They're fun, they said. Yep. Certainly keeps you on your toes. I'll let him scoot away from there. Seems we've rolled him up now. And I'll show you the 2 last snakes in this rack. Alright, so a couple of drawers down. We've got 2 snakes. They're in together at the moment too, because they are breeding. They're nice and warm. The female scooted off, unfortunately, but they both look identical, so there's nothing too crazy about these snakes. But they're just a pair of children's pythons. I actually got given these snakes by a customer that comes into high tech. They're gorgeous little animals. I think they'd probably be around 9 years old or so now. She just got over them breeding every year. Doesn't help when you keep them together year round, you know it's going to happen. But I separate them and just put them together for the cooler months. So this is my second year with them. And you know, any of these offspring, I don't really get asked for children's pythons, so I just tend to take them into the shop. And yeah, just sell them through there for people's first pets and things, because they do make awesome little snakes. There's nothing special about these guys either, they're just a couple of wild types, but they're beautiful nonetheless. And these guys have been locked up already for a couple of months now. They've been kind of already going at it. So this little guy's a little weapon. The female's slightly bigger. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful little snakes. I'll put them back and we'll start on some other animals that have actually got legs. Alright, so above that snake rack, I've actually got my bearded geckos. Can't you see one of them sticking their head out of the hole right now, just checking out what's going on? I think the other one must be pretty buried down at the moment. But these guys are doing pretty good. They're still out of a night time, still eating a little bit, so yeah, nothing much has changed with these guys. They did lay one clutch of eggs for me last summer, but it was the female's first clutch, so they went to rubbish, unfortunately. That's why the tank looks a little bit different to when it was first set up, as I actually had to dig around because it looked like there was the female was very deflated. But these guys love those little burrows. I'll just hang out on those all day until night time comes, then start pouncing on little crickets and things that are running past. But yeah, they're doing good. Not heating these guys either. I think the ambient temperature in the room should be enough. Absolutely worst case, if it does get colder later on during winter, I'll add a little heat mat in underneath there. But yeah, so on top of those guys, or behind those guys I should say, it's a couple of my favourite animals at the moment. That is the Boyd's forest dragons. So these guys are doing fantastic. I definitely think they're growing a fair bit. They're beautiful little animals. The only thing that I need to do for this enclosure is I really need to get some better light on top of it, because I don't think the UVB is just quite cracking it enough for the kind of plant growth that I want to get out of it. So we'll have to get another T5 system, and I have been talking to a friend about one that he recommends that he's using on a couple of frog tanks, so I might have a look at getting that involved just to get some extra growth out of these plants. These guys are doing really good in this enclosure. Slowed down quite a fair bit for winter, but they're still eating. Probably just instead of every day, they're kind of eating, you know, maybe every 2-3 days, and not high amounts of food, but enough to keep them hydrated and plump enough. I think that's the little female there, if I'm not mistaken. She's always been slightly bigger. There's the little male Hammond there. So yeah, if you're ever thinking about getting some Boyd's forest dragons, I can't recommend enough to go and check out Coop's Reptiles on YouTube. Cooper's who I got these two off, and he breeds a fair few every year, and he really knows his stuff when it comes to these guys. He's been very successful with these guys, so yeah, go and check out Coop's Reptiles on YouTube, and make sure you give him a follow too. So next to the Boyds, I've got my big filly Billy. This dude's definitely slowed down a lot for winter. I don't turn his light off at all. I just like the ambient night temperatures and stuff slow him down, because he does stay pretty active, being a more northern species closer to the equator. I'm not really confident turning his heat light off completely during winter and broom outing him properly. But yeah, not a hell of a lot's changed with his enclosure. A couple of new logs and things in there. But yeah, he just hangs out in here. He's been a little bit grumpy of late. But yeah, he's a beautiful little lizard, aren't you, mate? We'll fold your tail back in there. The last thing I want to do is get it caught in the glass. Under him, I've actually got my Kimberley rock monitor, who thankfully has stuck his head out. So I haven't seen him awake for a few days now. He's doing fantastic. Definitely slowed down during winter. But his enclosure's doing really well. Not a hell of a lot's changed. Added in a few extra branches again, like the gillons and everything. But again, being a smaller animal and a very northern animal, I am actually going to keep his light off for winter. Light on rather, just to keep him going slightly throughout. So this is Mr. Wiggles. Just named him after his wiggly little behaviour. It's a bit of a nickname. So yeah, he's a Kimberley rock monitor. Not overly common in Australia, in the kind of hobby, if you will. But beautiful little animal. A monster tail on him. I love that banding too. He's got that real flat, narrow head so he can really wedge into rock crevices and hunt little skinks and geckos and things that are hanging out in there. This guy pretty much eats nothing but bugs here. He is starting to get a few little bits of protein and that into him. But yeah, he's not a big animal. He doesn't grow very quick. But he's got a podgy little belly on him. So I'm not overly worried that he doesn't, you know, grow super fast or anything. But he's shedding at the moment, which is a good indicator. But he's a beautiful little lizard. Yeah, I thought I'd get him out and give you guys a bit of a closer look. Stunning little dude. Every now and then you just need some animals to keep as pets, you know, rather than breeding. And I've definitely got quite a few of those going on at the moment. So he may get a girlfriend down the line, but who knows. He's a well-behaved little monitor. I'm not even putting much pressure on him. But he's been a good little lizard just sitting here for me. Anyway, I'll go and put him back in his house. So this is my adult Gillon's monitor enclosure. I will not be disturbing these guys whatsoever. So the reason I say that is I'm really trying to cool them down. I'm trying to maximise breeding these guys this year because there's a lot of demand for them. And I've got a lot of friends after them. And a lot of people that contact my page, I probably get asked about these guys more than any other animal. I probably get asked to be put on the waiting list for them, or some weeks 3 times, some weeks 10 times. So I reckon there's probably over 100 people on the waiting list for me at the moment for these, which to me just seems bizarre, but you know, years ago there were heaps of these around and then all of a sudden it became super hard to breed these, so God knows what's going on. There's definitely not enough of these out there at the moment. I've got the heat light off on these guys. I've only just turned it off yesterday, but I plan to kind of turn it off for at least, I want to do a month, just to really get them nice and cold, and then start warming them back up again in about August. Yeah, not much to say about these guys apart from the fact that they're awesome little animals. I'm really sorry that I'm not going to pull them out for you, but they're doing really good. They've already kind of taken themselves to sleep maybe a couple of weeks ago, so I just want to ensure some good sperm count this year.
Because last year I didn't get many babies out, and the year before that I completely flipped 7 of them, but I want to try to maximise my output this year and just make sure the conditions on both of these animals. Alright, so we're getting there. Next enclosure along we've got Sonic, Danny's little bearded dragon. Now I actually woke him up yesterday because he's been down and probably asleep for 2 months now. And I got him out to have a check on him. And he's just a little bit skinnier than what I'd like, so I decided to warm him up a little bit. I just put a slightly bigger basking globe in there. And he's been eating bugs like mad this morning, but yeah, he's just a little bit skinnier than what I'd hope him to be. So instead of him going further downhill and losing more weight, I'd rather him just kind of wake up now, and I'll just power him on early for the year, even though it is still just coming into winter. This little guy's been with us forever, so I'd hate for anything bad to happen to him. He's such an awesome little lizard. So this enclosure was probably the most recent home-built enclosure, so to speak. I'm so glad that he got it too. Like, he really needed an upgrade, so I'm very happy that he's finally got some decent space to run around in. And yeah, I felt pretty bad having him in such a small environment for a while, so stoked that he's out of that. Moving across from Sonic, we've got Midori. She is a twitchy snake, and she's always hungry, but she doesn't move around a lot. So every now and then you need to starve animals like that, because the last thing you need is obese animals, especially ones that just sit on a stick all day. So these guys are prone to getting prolapses and things that are nasty. So yeah, trying to get her moving around for food and seeing what's out there. But pretty much any time I open up that enclosure, her food drive just turns on. She's doing well. Her enclosure needs a little bit more moisture in there, but I just don't want to put too much in while things are cooling down here. Usually moisture and cold end up in respiratory infections and the likes, so I've pretty much turned all the misting equipment off here, and I'll just do it manually now for the time being until it starts warming back up. Yeah, she's a fantastic snake as well. No idea what we're doing with her this year. I don't think I'm going to be attempting any sort of breeding because I'm not sure of the sex on Wasabi. So, probably another year, probably, until we get this little guy a little bit bigger and try to figure out the gender. But yeah, we'll get there. One day I'll breed greens. One day. So underneath Midori, I've got my trio of diamonds. These animals are so beautiful. I absolutely love these guys. And this is one species that I haven't been scared to turn the heat off, so don't freak out when you're looking up there and you see that heat panel and the snake's sitting on it, wedging it out. It's not on, nor is the heat tile underneath or anything. I'm trying to get these guys burnt, like ice cold. They can handle it. They come from this area, so you know, if anything, the ambient temperature in here is going to be plenty of heat. But yeah, Arrow hasn't moved from underneath the house now for a little while. And these two are still active. They're still out every night looking for food. I reckon if I put a rat in there, they'd both eat. Yeah, they're doing fantastic. Stunning colours in them, hey. In Australia, this is another species of snake that just doesn't get enough attention. Not enough attention, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, but you know, everyone's into morphs and stuff like that, whereas these guys are just naturally beautiful. The head patterns and the little rosettes and everything along their body. Can't go wrong with these guys. So these guys are probably the second messiest animal that I keep. And that's northern velvet geckos. I'm forever cleaning glass with these guys. Like this, I'll show you. That's probably about 5 days of how filthy that glass is. Nothing stops them. Absolutely nothing. But yeah, these guys haven't really slowed down too much. They're still eating away. One of them just shed too, so they're still growing like mad. They're doing alright in there. I gave a friend a pair of the Northern Velvets as well, and I managed to sell off the little hatchie. I decided to do that mainly so I could put some money back into another species that I really wanted. I actually picked up this little guy yesterday, hoping it's a boy. But there's a young northern leaf-tailed gecko, another cornutus. So I got this little guy from Josh, one of my friends via Facebook. He hit me up and asked if I was keen, and he let me do a bit of a payment plan on it too, which I definitely can't thank him enough for, because I was not in a position to throw down the money for one of these guys. And I also have to say thanks to Marcus for picking him up for me while he was getting some enclosures off Josh and bringing him up to Sydney, because Josh is down the bottom of New South Wales and I'm north of Sydney. So I was lucky enough that I only had to drive down to South Sydney or down to Campbelltown to pick him up, which definitely saved my shoulders a lot. So thank you, Marcus, for doing the driving, and thanks so much, Josh, for giving me the gecko. But yeah, he's in his little enclosure now. Got a few branches and things in there. Hopefully I'll start seeing some poos in there, which always makes me feel comfortable that he's eating in a new environment. But yeah, we'll see how he settles in. So this is the last enclosure that we're going to be having a look at. The last lot of animals that I've got here. It used to be my thick-tailed gecko enclosure, but now I've got a group of Crinia in here, or common eastern froglets. Nobody really seems to care too much for these guys, but I find them absolutely fascinating just because they're so small. And I think I've got 8 in here. Yeah, I believe I've got 8 in there. They're still calling a bit during the night, which is very cool. But yeah, they're fantastic little critters. The only downside to them is they're so small, so they need tiny, tiny food items. So I go through a lot of extra small crickets between these guys and the bicolour. I go through probably about 3,000 a fortnight. They eat a lot and they poop a lot. So yeah, the thick-tailed geckos that were in here, I've actually taken into work to try to start up a little bit of a breeding program at work for them. It also allows me to feed a couple of other mouths. But yeah, I quite like how this enclosure is coming along. Again, it's been hooked up to the Mist King system, which I've turned off for now anyway. As I said, I just want to manually spray things down and let them have a bit of a drier season, so to speak. So yeah, there we go. Common eastern froglets. Well, there you go, guys. After a lot of requests to do another little tour, I hope it was alright. As I said, I'm sorry that not much is active here at the moment, but I hope you had a quick glimpse at a few things here. And yeah, hopefully your animals are doing good too over the winter periods, and you know, make sure they warm up in a couple more months, and hopefully everyone has a good breeding season out there. I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Take it easy.